As we get more info on the events in Butler, Pennsylvania, it really starts to make you think. So we're going to have to thread the line here a little because YouTube definitely won't like this video, but it is now being reported that the Secret Service knew about Crooks an hour before the shooting to the whole 5-foot ladder thing, which is starting to sound like a cover-up. And even reports that Crooks' father reported him missing hours before the shooting.
The parents of Thomas Matthew Crooks had called police on the day of the attempted assassination. Fox reporting that Crooks' parents were looking for him Saturday in the hours leading up to the rally shooting, and eventually they called law enforcement to indicate that he was missing.
We are going to break this all down, but if you're new here, welcome to the Conservative Core, where our sole mission is to shine light on the hypocrisy of the left. Consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for daily conservative videos. Now, here's a question I keep asking myself. Why, of all rallies, did CNN livestream this one? I mean, they've never livestreamed any of the others. Why do you think this is? Let me know in the comments below. Now, there is so much to break down here, but we first need to start with the fact that Crooks was first noticed at 3 p.m. on Saturday in the security screening area with his rangefinder. A rangefinder is a device used to measure the distance from the user to a target object. And it's used to determine how far away something is. The rangefinder sends out a signal that bounces back from the target, and it calculates the distance based on the time it takes for the signal to return. And here is a video of him just casually walking around. The Secret Service kept an eye on him but lost him when he is believed to have gone to his car to retrieve his rifle. So here's where we're going to start. It's being reported that Crooks went to the gun shop, bought ammunition, then went to Home Depot where he purchased a 5-foot ladder. The only problem here is this ladder does not look 5 feet in length. I mean, it is clear as day that this is not a 5-foot ladder. If you look on Home Depot and look for 5-foot ladders, you can see there are 4 steps. And the ladder Crooks used, we can count at least 8 steps. So this looks like a 10-foot ladder. Now it is also being reported that Crooks walked a mile with this ladder, a weapon, ammo, without being seen by one cop, Secret Service agent, nobody. How can this skinny 20-year-old kid carry all of this for a mile and not be seen by one officer? How did he know this building was not going to have anyone on it and it would be ungated? How did he know this would be a perfect vantage point? Heck, even if he carried it just 50 yards, you're telling me not one agent or officer saw this? If so, then how could you not have anyone in this area? I mean, it is obviously very close. The more information we find on this, the more everything just doesn't add up. Now take a listen to this.
Sheriff Michael Sloop repeatedly called the security plan flawed. Today he also said securing the building was not part of the pre-planning he did with Secret Service. He said he was never asked to sweep the building and has no idea if anyone did a sweep. We know the gun was legally...
So, it sounds like the Secret Service knew that this building was not going to be manned by anyone unless they put it somewhere there. Another thing that is coming out is, according to Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi, 4 total counter sniper teams were watching over the event. The development is making me scratch my head even more because it seems now that there were multiple teams and not one person saw him, but he had a clear shot at Trump. But this is the worst part about it all, and stay with me here. The Secret Service was aware of the potential threat 10 minutes before Donald Trump took the stage in Pennsylvania but let him go out anyway. The Secret Service knew about a threat prior to President Trump walking on stage and did absolutely nothing about it. And they are now contradicting what they said a few days ago. Take a listen to Kimberly Cheadle here.
You said that local law enforcement was responsible for that building. What did you mean by that?
So Secret Service respects local law enforcement, and we could not do our job either investigatively or on our protective mission without them. In Pennsylvania, in fact, on that same day, they were also working the First Lady trip and a vice presidential trip. So I understand the constraints that they're under, and as I said earlier, we couldn't do our job without them. At that particular site, we divided up areas of responsibility, but the Secret Service is solely responsible for the design and the implementation and the execution of the site. And that's what I was trying to stress, was that we just divided up areas of responsibility, and they provided support to those areas of responsibility.
And you mentioned...
Okay, so she is saying local law enforcement is responsible for this. But this is not what Edward Natai, the Butler commissioner, is saying.
Martha, thank you very much for reaching out to me. So tell me what your understanding is of what the local law enforcement's responsibility is, because clearly the head of the United States Secret Service has suggested that that area was going to be covered by local officials.
Well, yes, and honestly, Martha, that's what prompted me to, I guess, post. I'd like to let the dust settle after an event like this, but what prompted me to post and on the social media platform last night, and of course, obviously talk to you today, is that our local Butler Township Police, their duties that were assigned to them, and we have an operational plan that details all that, were strictly traffic detailed. They were not required or not detailed to any security detail related to the event. It's strictly traffic to help people coming in and out of the event. If there is an emergency, those type of things. We saw the number of people, the number of cars at the event. And I was so frustrated and quite frankly hit my limit again last night when I saw, again, Secret Service says it was the responsibility of the local police department. That's absolutely not correct.
She then says Secret Service resources were not diverted from Trump for Joe Biden's event, but this contradicts other reports that they were.
And you mentioned the First Lady's also event in Pittsburgh. You guys have a lot of areas to cover. Were any assets diverted from the former president's rally to her detail?
No, there were no assets from the Secret Service that were diverted at all.
Okay, so no one swapped out any of the posts, for example?
No.
This is just a bad look on the Secret Service. And speaking of the Secret Service, take a look at what Dan Bongino had to say, and he is a former Secret Service agent.
Why was he on the stage? Why was he on the stage? Everybody knew this was going on. Nobody thought to evacuate the president? Former president, soon-to-be president? You get the point. I don't need to keep correcting that. Why was he on the stage? Let me let you in on a little Secret Service lingo. Again, nothing I'm telling you is classified. You all in the military, anyone in military or SWAT or policing on this has heard of this before? EP, executive protection. What is the golden rule of a threat, of a persistent threat to life and limb? You get the protectee off the X. What's the X? It's the spot they're standing where they're exposed. Get them off the X, cover him, and evacuate. Why was he on the stage? Get him off the X. Get him off the X. Everyone out there needs to be posting this repeatedly over and over again. Why was he on the X? Why? Anyone in the chat have an explanation outside of incompetence? Listen, there are a bunch of people telling me, Dan, you're missing the evidence. I only say what I know. I will never fucking bullshit you ever. I'm telling you right now, Occam's razor, the incompetence here is freaking stunning.
Spot on. This is the only question. The minute there was a risk identified, he should have been moved to a secure environment. It was a violation of the most basic protection codes. It's despicable, and it gives me a really bad taste in my mouth. This is even more concerning when you hear that a local police officer even went on the roof to confront Crooks when Crooks pointed his weapon at the officer. Just take a listen to this.
Did in fact see an individual on the roof with a weapon.
He saw the shooter.
He did.
Your officers are on patrol. They hear that there is a suspicious person on the rooftop. What did your officers do?
So our officers in the area started to converge on the building. My understanding is they did a full perimeter walk of the building. Weren't able to see up on the roof. Two of the officers went to what appeared to be the lowest point from ground to roof. One of the officers actually boosted the second officer up high enough for him to grab hold of the roof. When he was able to pull his head up over the roof, he did in fact see an individual on the roof with a weapon.
He saw the shooter.
He did.
And what did the shooter do?
Turned towards him, had the barrel of his weapon pointed at the officer.
At that point, the officer's hanging on
Yes.
to the side of the roof?
Yes.
Unable to pull a gun out.
Unable to
Defend himself. Unable to reach his radio.
Any of that. Yeah. Strictly defensive movement for him to lower his head, duck, lost his own grip, right? Fell approximately 8 feet to the ground.
That's a steep drop.
It's a good drop, yes.
Did he get hurt?
He did.
In that moment, did they realize there's a threat right now to the former president?
They did. So both the boosting officer and the officer that fell were both on the radio, indicating that there was an individual on the roof that did in fact have a weapon.
Who did they radio?
So there was a blanket tactical channel being used.
Everyone heard it.
Everyone that was on that tactical channel heard it, yes.
just a failure. I don't care if it was less than 1 minute. That is more than enough time to get Trump off the X, as Dan was saying. All I know is people need to be held accountable for this. I am having a hard time believing that this is just a simple screw-up. It is clear the Secret Service director should resign due to her agency security failures. Her job is too important for it to be a total amateur like this. She got lucky that Trump had some divine help. I will leave you on this last note. This is one of the first pictures we saw of Crooks from the day. But what if I told you it was taken by the Secret Service? And yet somehow he was allowed to roam the complex with a weapon, a rangefinder, a huge ladder, climb the roof of the closest and most obvious building with a clear shot at Trump, get nice and cozy and comfortable for nearly 10 minutes, and then fire off multiple shots before anyone seemed to care about his presence. And as the days go on, there is definitely going to be more and more information coming out, so if you have not yet, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video for more conservative news daily. See you in the next one.